This is Gary Atencio with CNTV, and today we're in Colorado. I'm here with Doreen Katz Memorial Cancer Foundation. Since 2011, this nonprofit provides a community for parents facing cancer with kids to afford school, sport, and extracurricular or therapeutic activities. I'm joined with Adam Katz, who's the Executive Director. Thanks so much for joining us here today. Adam, basically you are a veteran of the U.S. Navy, formerly educated at Colorado State University. You come from New York. You're not originally from Colorado. You journeyed here to Denver to really get away from the water, as you say. This is a story of love. Despite different desires of where to live, this was a marriage that was meant to be. Share with us how this nonprofit came to be.
Well, it all started actually during my Navy time, Gary. I was, well, first and foremost, thank you for the opportunity to come on Consumer News TV today. But it did start during my naval career. Doreen was in New York. I was in the Navy in northern Japan. I was at sea right around this time of year, actually. Her birthday's coming up this Friday. And on that day, the 19th, I called her from the ship I was serving upon. And unfortunately, I got that noisy tone telling me that the number was disconnected. I assumed that I must have misdialed because obviously calling from overseas, you got to add a few extra digits in there. Tried again, got the same number. And at that point, I knew something was wrong. The internet was very new at that point in time, so it wasn't like I could just go and search for her. It wasn't that easy. It took me a few months to kind of figure out what was going on, but in November that year I found out that she had breast cancer. And I rushed to her side. We actually got married right then and there. She lasted a month from that point on. I was in the Navy, had a top secret clearance, so I really couldn't talk about it. So I went back to Japan and I just kept it inside. Everybody knew something was wrong.
Sure.
But everybody kind of let me deal with it on my own. And when I got out of the Navy, I still kept quiet about it. I kept it inside for basically 12 and a half years. And then a friend of mine told me about the Avon Walk for Breast Cancer here in Colorado, up in the mountains by Frisco and Breckenridge. And she did it in 2008. Told me about it and said I had to do it the next year. So I went back the next year and walked in the event. I actually spoke at the opening ceremonies, which was really the first time I talked about Doreen ever. And why not keep it inside and then telling 2,000 of your closest friends, I figured. Worked out really well. And then at the closing ceremony, the need for this foundation was basically presented to me when they started handing out grants. Yeah. And they gave one guy $50,000 and basically said he's got the first foundation in the country focused specifically on children of cancer patients. I went up to him afterwards and I asked him what he did, and he told me, and I was like, that's great, but there's more. And this is 2009, the housing market had kind of gone into the tank. The economy was not doing so great, and schools were starting to reach out and say, I was living in the Cherry Creek School District and had gotten a flyer. We're going to start charging directly for full day kindergarten and advanced placement classes and field trips and the works. And I was just like, how are families where a parent has cancer going to be able to afford to educate their own kids? And I figured somebody else had seen this need already, but it was apparently too new and nobody had. So I knew right away that I needed a foundation that could cover whatever a school charged and also provide therapy for the kids to give them a voice outside the home.
Interesting story. Like you said, you seen the need there, you thought maybe somebody else take care of it, but no, you definitely stepped up. I mean, childhood can be challenging without the burden of having a parent who is battling cancer. You've seen cancer not only affect the victim, but also the entire family. Sadly, is that pretty a common story?
Unfortunately, it is. A lot of times, especially within because the cancer patient is going through a chemo or a radiation or some other cancer treatment, it makes them very sick. And a lot of times they just can't be around their own family. They need to be in a quiet room, a dark room. And children will internalize that, and they'll be like, oh my gosh, mom or dad is sick, and it's because I did whatever. And that's why our therapeutic component is so important, because we give that therapist to a family that's available as needed, and it gives them a voice.
Very powerful. I mean, as the parent gets this diagnosis and as the child strives to maintain a familiar, normal life, can school play a big part in providing that base and foundation?
It very much can. The schools that we work with, and obviously we pick up new schools as we go, they're very excited about us because they know that the child can do whatever they want. And if they find an interest that is going to cost a few bucks here and there, they know we're going to cover it, and the child is going to be able to explore whatever that interest might be. It allows them, of course, to be around their friends each day, which is also very important, even though a lot of times there's a little bit of a disconnect, because if you're a child and your parent doesn't have cancer, you don't necessarily understand what's going through your friend's mind. So the other nice part about it is from time to time we'll get some of our families together so that they can all commiserate, where the parents will get together, the kids will get together, and everybody gets it. And it's amazingly impactful when that happens.
That is great. I mean, a child's life is enhanced in school through sports, clubs, extracurricular activities. Beyond reading, writing, arithmetic, have these been proven to be vital really to the well-being of children?
Well, all the data that we've collected over the last 10.5 years shows that it is very much important, because it keeps the child engaged. And as long as they're engaged and active, they're going to continue on within the educational system and be able to graduate high school and move on and potentially go on to college and make a life for themselves. So it's very important that they have that, and especially the socialization skills to be around other people and to express what's going on in their mind.
I mean, back in my day, these sports and clubs were all part of the public school system. No monetary contribution was needed by the student or the parent. I mean, that's just not the case today.
Unfortunately, it isn't. Every school has a charge now for whatever the sport may be. And whenever that happens, we cover it right away. I also will, if they're not going to play on the school team, but there's a club team, we're going to cover that too, because we just want to keep the kids as active as possible and engaged in life. I don't want them sitting in their room playing video games all day. That's really not going to help them.
I mean, let's face it, cancer treatment, it's expensive. So who can apply for these grants from your organization? Who is that for?
It's basically for any parent that has a child that's in the K through 12 range, and we stay with the family K through 12. We're not like a one-year deal. We're there as long as they need us. So most of the time we work with the different hospitals in the states where we're currently active, and the social workers within those states will see the need, and they'll try and get us involved at that point, and they'll reach out, ask if we're ready to take on a new family. We give them the affirmative, they go back to the family, tell them a little bit about the foundation, and of course for HIPAA concerns they ask for permission to give me their contact information. And then once I get it, I reach out to the family. And in the pandemic it's mostly been Zoom and phone calls, because obviously if they're on chemo, I can't go into the home. Prior to the pandemic, I would actually go into the home, meet the family. I still try and meet as much as I can. Obviously, like I said, with the chemo, that's a game changer for us. We can't go in the home at that point, and I'm fine with that. I still have the Zoom possibility.
Definitely things have changed just in the past few years.
Yes.
Eligibility is based usually on financial need, medical bills. I mean, but really, is each personal situation considered when you look?
For the most part, whenever I hear about a family, the answer is always yes. I don't care what their financial situation is, because cancer is a long-term disease. They might be in great shape right now. They might not be in that same shape 2 years down the line, 3 years down the line. So why should I make them wait if we can provide for their kids and give them that sense of security, if you will, and still be able to operate as we are for the rest of our families here in Colorado and in the other states we serve?
I mean, beyond footing the bill of extracurricular activities, each family has their own dedicated therapist that is available really 24/7. How important is that in helping the child understand that diagnosis of cancer?
You know, when I first started the charity and I was like, we're going to do education and therapy for the kids. I don't have any children myself, so I was a little naive and I thought that education piece was going to be really important. Yeah. And to an extent it is, but the therapy is so important. All the families have always said to me, Adam, this therapy is amazing because it gives the child an idea of what's really going on that the parent doesn't necessarily have the ability to explain. Yeah. And it lets the child know that whatever is going on is not their fault. And it's something that, you know, they are aware of what may happen. They are certainly told of, you know, tests and whatnot that are coming up so that they have a good understanding of what's really happening to their parent. But it also gives them some hope because, you know, if the cancer is going to be cured, they're going to know about it.
That's interesting. I mean, you're able to help with advanced placement classes, full-day kindergarten, field trips. I've even seen some of the local sports teams get involved. Is that exciting for you, seeing some of the involvement from the community? It
is. It's a lot of fun. I try to get to games, to whatever sport, whenever I can here in Colorado, and it's always exciting to see the kid out there on the field doing their thing. It's just amazing. And then, you know, you can see the support, and for the most part, most of the fans know what's going on and they appreciate what we're trying to accomplish.
Obviously, you've experienced probably many stories throughout this journey. You have now compiled those stories a little bit together. Tell me about that.
Yes, we actually met a publisher a few years ago who wanted to share our stories with schools to help get the conversation started about grief and loss. So what happened was I wrote my story, a few of our families wrote their story, and then the publisher took each of those stories and created lesson plans. So they're built right into this book, and it's not thick, it's like 120 pages. But it has lesson plans so that teachers can actually use it within their classroom, and it just gets the conversation started about grief and loss. Obviously here in Colorado we've had several, unfortunately, school shootings, and of course we just had the one down in Texas in Uvalde. After the one in Texas back in June, I actually sent the principal there a classroom set of 30 books for the upcoming school year. And I'm hoping to actually go out there in October when I have my pink beard and talk to the schools. So
that is great. Obviously, awareness is step one with anything like this. As a nonprofit, I mean, the lifeblood of your organization is through donations and support. How can the public help in carrying out this mission and continue to make sure that you get a pink beard put on when it's so necessary?
Well, our website, DoreenKatzMemorial.org, has a donate tab right there. You can go in, make a donation, and the nice part about it is you can tell me where, you know, what part of our program you'd like it to go to. We are active in 9 states right now, so if you have a particular state that you're interested in, I can certainly move a donation into that state to help a family there. You know, we also try and get involved in terms of when a donation does come in and it's like unmarked, I try to tell them, okay, thank you for your donation. This is the family situation. I'll just kind of give them a brief description of, you know, the parent is going through this type of cancer and this is going to help with the therapy or whatever class the child wants to take. Kind of gives them a more of a personalized idea of how they really helped a specific family.
Yeah, I see your image of the pink beard, and that definitely is a trademark that people are getting to know out there. Although you and Doreen never had children, you don't have children now, you now help cancer-stricken parents provide for their children. As she was a giving person, volunteering her time, what do you think that she would have thought about this organization, and do you still find it rewarding doing this in her honor?
Well, I feel like if she were here, she would have been the one starting this foundation. Obviously, it would have a different name. That's just how she was. I know that she appreciates what I'm doing because people tell me all the time they can feel her around me.
Oh, yeah.
And I always feel like I sit there and I'll think, gee, if only I had a television interview, and all of a sudden somebody will reach out like you did.
Awesome. Fantastic. So obviously the spirit lives on, and obviously those folks out there are being helped, which is fantastic. Viewers, let's take a look at the bottom of the screen right there. What you're going to see first of all is the website. On the website you can learn more about this organization, check out the testimonials, and read some of these stories of people that have been touched and helped as they struggled through really a transition in life that many don't understand how hard that is for the children. You can read more about their grants and awards. They provide additional family resources right there on the site as well. Obviously, donate if you're able. This is a great organization that began here in Colorado, expanding out into Arizona and really nationwide. So if you have interest in there, definitely contact him as well. Once again, that is Doreen Katz Memorial Cancer Foundation, providing a community for parents facing cancer with kids to afford school, sport, and extracurricular or therapeutic activities. This is Gary Atencio with CNTV, and if you don't know, now you know.